What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 3 of me going over Apple Music's recent list of the greatest 100 albums of all time. I love lists. I like making them. I have a whole chat group that I've had for decades in which we list albums every year, and I find it's a good way to discover music that I might not normally enjoy or like. This chair is getting squeakier over the years. And so the idea is I like the Apple Music list only because I'm like, oh, is this album really that good? I'm sort of revisiting albums. But I'm also going through it now, 10 by 10, what I would take off, what I would leave on, what I would move up. And the whole conceit that I'm using is that I'm an editor on Apple Music. This is the final list that's been submitted to me. I'm one of 5. So as one of 5, I have the ability to remove and replace 20 albums. In the first 20, I've removed 7. We'll do the replacing last. I have the ability to keep an artist but replace an album. I've done that twice already. Only going to do it 3 more times. I'm limiting that to 5. And I can move anything anywhere I want. So these are the 80s, or no, these are the 70s, 80 through 71, the third group of 10. I'm going to go through these, and then I will show the updated list of what I've kept so far. If you want to see what I've removed, watch those previous videos. But here we go. Number 80. Yeah, Eminem, the Marshall Mathers LP. Yeah, 100%. This is staying on the list. All lyrical issues and problems aside, those are obviously intentional for Eminem. He wants to upset you. He wants provocation. He wants to cause controversy. That's part of his marketing campaign. That's not the word I'm looking for, but that's part of his image. That's part of what he's going for. But like, come on, man. His flow, his writing, his jokes, everything about him, his music, his beats, Stan Alone. I mean, what a crazy song. What an incredible song. Everything from just the delivery, the lyrics, the message, the part that Dido sings. Yeah. But this entire album is just, it's great. It's an absolutely awesome hip-hop / rap album. Eminem's got one of the best flows in the game. Yeah, 100%. This is staying on my list. Number 79 is Lana Del Rey's Norman F. Rockwell, NFR. Pretty sure this was my number 1 album the year it came out. I love this album. I've listened to it to death. It very much taps into a Joni Mitchell Southern California vibe. I think there's even like a specific Joni Mitchell reference a couple times on this album, in which either there's a whole theme of her talking about being blue that I think definitely is a reference to Joni Mitchell's Blue. And then later on, there's one of the songs towards the back of the album has a sort of a Laurel Canyon type, talking about that type vibe. There's an awesome cover of here on Doing Time. Great cover. Yeah, it's really good. It's got one of the best opening lines of all time. Just listen to the first track. The opening lyric is just absolutely amazing. The beginning of Mariner's apartment complex, which goes from like all these different sort of folk tropes before it settles into its groove. So many great things about this album. I might even move it up because I think it's Lana Del Rey's best album so far. But for now, I'll keep it at keeping it at 79. But definitely deserves to be on this list in my opinion. Number 78 is Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I'm under the opinion that prior to putting this on the list, they didn't listen to the whole album because had anybody heard Jamaica Jerk Off, they would have immediately banned this album from being on the list. Jamaica Jerk Off is a horrible song, I think, and just immediately disqualifies this album. This is a good album. I think it's a little bloated. It's a double album. And I do think that after it's sort of 4 home runs or 5 home runs out of the first 6 songs, after it's absolutely just stellar kickoff, it kind of drops a little bit and doesn't quite have the same consistency. And I do think Elton John has one album that is a top 100 album. Like, I think he's a singles artist more than anything. All of his really strong albums are just a collection of really good songs. But he has one album. I'm not going to keep him on the list and replace Goodbye Yellow Brick Road with that one album because I'm not sure it's a top 100 album. I might do that later, but for now, I'm using one of my, no, I'm not. I'm not using one of my 3 left to like replace the album. So Elton John's off. But I do think Tumbleweed Connection, if that had been on this list at this spot, instead of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I would leave it on here. Tumbleweed Connection is a fantastic sort of Americana, slightly country, like Elton John's like getting into the Americana South, not the hardcore country or blues South, but the Americana South. And I think it's a great, fantastic album. Not good enough for me to use one of my 5 to replace it. But the beginning of this album, I almost find that this album is a little too good, and it almost seems like a Vegas show. Opening track, Funeral for a Friend. We get some proggy elements with some crazy, cheesy synth sounds. At one point, I'm sure somebody was like, do you think in like 20 years these synth sounds are still gonna sound good? And somebody said yes, which I don't think they do. Into like this really nice streamlined rocker like Love Lies Bleeding. Then you get this piano ballad about, hey, let's write it about Marilyn Monroe. Beautiful. Then we get this stomping rocker where everybody sing along. It's easy. The words are just Benny and the Jets. Then you get like a Wizard of Oz homage and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Song Has No Title is good. And then you get this really awesome, cool Gray Seal. Then you get Jamaica Jerk Off and the album just starts to fall apart. Not a bad album. I mean, I think the other stuff is some good stuff. Saturday Night All Right for Fighting a Good Rocker. Roy Rogers is kind of fun. I mean, there's some good stuff on here. But top 100, not for me. I'm taking it off. So, sorry, Elton John fans. It's off my list. 77, Madonna's Like a Prayer. Yeah, I'm keeping this on here. I wouldn't put this on if I had a choice. I would have probably put her debut album on. I still think that holds up as like incredible 80s dance pop. My sister probably listened to this album 47,000 times right after it came out, and her room was right across the hall from my room. So didn't hear all of it because I would be battling with my music, but when my music was over, I would hear Madonna coming from across the hall. But I actually grew to really like that early album. I actually think True Blue is good enough to be on this list. I would say Like a Virgin is good enough to be on this list. I would say Ray of Light is good enough to be on this list. But I understand Like a Prayer. It's a pretty good, great album. It's really eclectic. Prince is on it. You got some really good Prince energy throughout it, both in guitar and with like a duets with Prince. You even get some weird spoken word stuff on the final song, Act of Contrition, which feels very Prince-esque. Cherish is a great song. Express Yourself. I mean, they're all just great songs. It's a great, great pop album. I mean, if you don't like pop music, you probably won't like this album. If there is an issue, I think it's maybe more dated sound-wise than maybe some of her earlier stuff. Some of the drums, especially, and some of the production. But, yeah, the songwriting, I can't deny. Yeah, Madonna. I'm keeping her on this list. Number 76 is Bad Bunny, Un Verano Sin Ti, which, that's a summer without you, which seems really sad. But I'm going to need somebody to come to defense for this one because I'm taking it off. One, I speak Spanish, but not enough to truly understand every single line in this album. So that kind of, I think, hurts my enjoyment a little bit. Plus, I kind of don't like his flow. I think it's a little just like too heavy or something. It's just a little like too somber and heavy. And I know this is a pretty loved album. I know like here in San Antonio, a lot of my friends love Bad Bunny. He came to the Alamo Dome, or our big arena here, and sold out, and it was huge. It's a album about the summer, and that first track has like a lazy summer vibe. Like I think the vibe on this is very summery, but it's just not connecting with me. There are some interesting musical things, but they kind of seem a little obvious. But I understand the attraction, but I can't defend it. Like I can't say that I really, really enjoy this album. Maybe if my understanding of Spanish was better, yes. But I'm taking it off the list. And that just may be my lack of like appreciation of like Spanish hip hop, but I don't speak Spanish, or Puerto Rican hip hop. But that's not true because there's other things in like French and German, like some rap albums that I like, and I don't understand a word. But just the beats for this, I don't know. So anyways, I'm taking it off. I would love to hear a passionate defense of this or read a passionate defense of this. I apologize if anybody thinks it's fantastic, but too many sort of rap and hip hop albums out there, even though this is a lot more than just that. Yeah, it's not connecting with me like I hoped that it would. So it's off my list. Sorry. So I've now taken 9 off. Everything else in this group is going to stay on. So not even halfway through it, I've taken 9 off. So let's hope they get more consistent, Apple. 75 is Super Duper Fly by Missy Elliott. Yeah, this one's staying on. Can't deny this. Everything from the opening, sort of with the Bismarcky opening and closing, which I absolutely love, to all the guest appearances by other female artists, to just every song on here, every beat, Missy's flow, the music. This is just, yeah, this is straight up a winner. Another debut album. We have a lot of debut albums on here from like R&B and hip hop artists in which they come out and they redefine the game from the beginning, and it's just crazy. But yeah, this is absolutely excellent album. No complaints about this one. Easy decision to keep this on the list. Same with number 74, 9 Inch Nails, The Downward Spiral. Either one of their first 2 albums could have been on here. Industrial rock at its absolute best. The sort of variety, the ability to like, it's still kind of I don't want to say playful, but there's, different variations on industrial rock. It does not feel like a monotonous journey over the course of the album. Definitely has variety, has emotion, has intensity, has hooks. Like, yeah, either one of their first 2 albums could have been on here. This is another easy choice. Hands down. This one might even have to be higher than 74, but we'll make that decision later. Number 73 is Steely Dan's Asia. Keeping this on the list, and I'm not replacing it, though it's not my favorite Steely Dan album. I think they have a couple others that are better, but I understand sort of the critical love and the attraction of this. It is a fantastic album. It does sound ridiculous. There are a number of just outright brilliant classic Steely Dan songs. My problem with this album is I'm not in love with the title track as everybody else seems to be. There's some great drumming. Everybody points out the drumming. But to me, that's the weakest part of the album is actually the title track. And I know a lot of people absolutely love it. But I understand it. And I'm not going to waste definitely not going to take it off because I think Steely Dan deserves to be on this list. I would put other albums on there. I would go Royal Scam before this. I would go Katie Lied before this. I think those are both just a little more consistent albums, a little more fun. But this is a great album. It's got some Black Cow's great, Peg's great, Josie's great. It's a number of just fantastic songs. But I'll keep it at 73. Number 72 is SZA's SOS, Sauce. I don't listen to R&B much, but if an album gets as much love as, well, her debut album gets, I will check it out, which I absolutely loved. This is her second album. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. It's got some nice rap on there. She's got some nice singings. She's got some melodies. I think the lyrics are fantastic. I think musically it's fantastic. It's one of those where like every little song is bringing something a little bit different. And it's a little bit long, if I'm not mistaken. It's running close to an hour. And there are moments where I'm like, okay, maybe it needs to be shorter. And I'll think that, and then that song will have like a melodic hook, or they'll drop some bars in there, or something will happen. I'm like, oh no, this is really good. Yeah, it's got some great lyrics. A lot of it about romance and personal issues and stuff like that. But when she raps, it's great. When she sings, it's great. Yeah, it's close to like 70 minutes long. This is an absolutely fantastic R&B release. She could have easily been, her first album easily could have been on here, her debut. What is that one called? Control, which to me felt like a mic drop because it's not called Control, Control, like saying Janet Jackson's, but it's CTRL. And her coming out with an album called Control and maybe inviting obvious comparisons to Janet Jackson's Control, and yet at the same time delivering such a debut album, to me, that's also kind of impressive. But yeah, even though this album's only 2 years old, I think I will comfortably leave this on the list and leave it at 72. I think it's a fantastic album. And then 71 is Kraftwerk's Trans-Europe Express. Just absolutely awesome electronic music. I think it's one of those, the first, like when I was a kid and I tried to listen to this, to me it was way too Disneyland's Electrical Parade type music. And then over the years, as I begin to sort of appreciate electronic music more and appreciate the layering and just the sort of warmth that some of these songs are able to bring because of like their repetition and their sort of hypnotic quality. And I wasn't then, when I first started getting into Kraftwerk, I wasn't into like bands like Can or other German bands. So sort of the German way of delivering some lyrics was not yet something I was comfortable with. But as I've gotten older, I definitely appreciate Kraftwerk more and more and what they're bringing with, you know, electronic music and stuff like that. And this is easily maybe their pinnacle. You might argue that maybe some of Autobahn is pretty fantastic, but no, this one is probably it. It just, the more you listen to it, the more it becomes engaging and hypnotic, and it just grows on you, and it's absolutely fantastic. So that's what they look like. I'm removing 2. Elton John, no apologies on that. Bad Bunny, interested if people have defense of that album. I just wasn't able to really get into it. But everything else is staying. And then this is what I have left on the list so far are those. Took off 9 so far, right? So we're left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 21. All right. My math works. All right. A couple of those I'm moving higher. I might move other stuff higher. And then also replacing Nina Simone and then Neil Young. They had albums on there that are good, but both those artists have better. But that'll come in the last video. But that's all I got. Love your thoughts on these albums. I had not listened. I'm really enjoying this process because I had not listened to the SZA album probably in a couple years since it came out, maybe a year and a half. It was nice to revisit that and discover just how fantastic that album is. So this has been fun. Highly recommend you do it, people. If you don't know these albums, check them out because some of them are really, really good. But that's all I got. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things you're supposed to do. And listen to music. And peace. Talk to you later.